Hello everyone. Welcome to our channel. Today we're going to dive into the fascinating story of Abraham, one of the most important characters in the Old Testament of the Bible. Known as the father of faith, Abraham had an incredible journey from his childhood to his death, full of faith, challenges, and divine promises. We will explore each phase of this journey and understand the impact of his life to this day. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. It's very important to us so that we can continue our work. So let's watch the video. I hope you enjoy it.
At a time when the whole earth spoke the same language, Terah, at the age of 70, gave birth to 3 sons, Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. Abraham and Nahor were married. Sarai was Abraham's wife, and Milcah, Haran's daughter, was Nahor's wife. Haran had 2 daughters, Milcah and Iscah. However, Sarai was unable to have children because she was barren. Terah, together with his son Abraham, his grandson Lot, Haran's son, and Sarai, Terah's daughter-in-law and Abraham's wife, left Ur of the Chaldees for the land of Canaan. When they reached Haran, they settled there. The Eternal then spoke to Abraham.
"Leave your land, your family and your father's house, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make you famous. You will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who curse you. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you."
Abraham obeyed and left, taking his nephew Lot with him. He was 75 years old when he left Haran, accompanied by Sarai, Lot, and all the goods and people they had acquired. They made their way to Canaan and arrived there safely. Abraham traveled as far as Shechem, where the Oak of Moreh was, in a region inhabited by the Canaanites. The Eternal appeared to Abraham and said,
"I will give this land to your descendants."
Abraham built an altar there in honor of the Eternal. He then moved to the mountainous region east of Bethel, between Bethel and Ai, where he also erected an altar and prayed. Continuing his journey, Abraham headed south towards the Negev. During a severe famine in that region, Abraham went to Egypt. As he approached Egypt, he said to Sarai,
"You are very beautiful. When the Egyptians see you, they will say you are my wife and kill me, but they will let you live. Please tell them you're my sister, so they'll treat me well because of you."
In Egypt, the Egyptians noticed Sarai's beauty, and she was taken to Pharaoh. Because of her, Abraham acquired many riches, such as sheep, cattle, donkeys, servants, and camels. However, the Eternal punished Pharaoh and his household with serious illnesses because of Sarai. Pharaoh then confronted Abraham.
"What have you done to me? Why didn't you say she was your wife? Here is your wife. Take her and go."
Pharaoh ordered Abraham to be escorted out of Egypt, taking his wife and all his belongings. Abraham returned to the Negev with Sarai and everything he owned, including his nephew Lot. Abraham was now very rich, owning cattle, silver, and gold. He traveled from the Negev to Bethel, where he pitched his tent and built an altar to the Eternal. Lot, who accompanied Abraham on his travels, was also very wealthy, owning sheep, cattle, and tents. The land was not enough for both of them because of the amount of possessions they had, and conflicts arose between the shepherds of Abraham and Lot. They realized that they could no longer live together there. At that time, the Canaanites and Pharisees inhabited the same land. Abraham said to Lot,
"There must be no quarrel between us and our shepherds, for we are relatives. There's a lot of land here. Let's split up. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right, and vice versa."
Lot examined the region and chose the plain of the Jordan, which was well watered and looked like the garden of the Eternal before the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot left for the east, and uncle and nephew separated. Abraham settled in Canaan, while Lot settled in the cities of the plain, pitching his tent near Sodom, whose people were wicked and sinned against the Eternal. After the separation, the Eternal told Abraham,
"Look north, south, east, and west. All the land you see I will give it to you and your descendants forever. Your descendants will be as numerous as the dust of the earth. Get up and walk through this land, for I am giving it to you."
Abraham dismantled his tent and settled near the oaks of Mamre in Hebron, where he built an altar to the Eternal. At this time, Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goyim, declared war against Beriah, king of Sodom, Bersa, king of Gomorrah, Sinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, Zor. The valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and as they fled, the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fell into them, while others escaped to the mountains. The 4 kings took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, including food and tools, and went on their way. They also captured Lot, Abraham's nephew, and took everything he owned. A man who escaped went to tell Abraham, who lived near the oaks of Mamre, where his Amorite allies, Eshcol and Aner, were. When he heard that his nephew had been captured, Abraham gathered his 318 servants and pursued the enemies to Dan. Dividing his men into groups, he attacked at night, chasing them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus, and recovered everything, including Lot and his possessions. After the victory over Chedorlaomer and his allies, the king of Sodom went to meet Abraham in the valley of Shave, the king's valley. Melchizedek, king of Salem and priest of the Most High God, brought bread and wine and blessed Abraham.
Blessed be Abraham by the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth. Blessed be the Most High God, who has delivered your enemies into your hands.
Abraham gave Melchizedek the 10th part of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abraham,
Give me back the people and keep the goods.
But Abraham answered,
I take a solemn oath before the eternal, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will not take anything that belongs to you, not even a thread or a shoelace. I don't want you to say that you made Abraham rich. I will only take what my men have eaten in the share of Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, who accompanied me.
After these events, Abraham received a vision from the Eternal.
Abraham, do not be afraid. I am your shield and your reward will be great.
Abraham replied,
Eternal, what good are your gifts to me if I have no children? Eliezer of Damascus will inherit everything.
The Eternal said,
Look up at the sky and count the stars if you can. This is how your descendants will be.
Abraham believed the Eternal, and this was credited to him as righteousness.
I am the Eternal who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees and gave you this land to possess.
Abraham asked,
Eternal One, Sovereign, how will I know that all this will be mine?
The Eternal answered,
Bring me a bullock, a she-goat and a ram, all 3 years old, a turtle dove and a dove.
Abraham brought the animals, cut them in half, and placed the halves opposite each other, but he didn't cut up the birds. Vultures began to land on the carcasses, but Abraham shooed them away. At sunset, Abraham fell into a deep sleep, and a feeling of terror enveloped him because of the dense darkness. The Eternal told Abraham,
Know that your descendants will live as foreigners in a land that is not their own. They will be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. Then I will punish your oppressors, and your descendants will leave laden with goods, but you will live a long and full life and die in peace. They won't come back until the 4th generation, because the sin of the Amorites has not yet reached its limit.
After the sun went down, a smoking fire and a burning torch passed between the carcasses. It was against this backdrop that the Eternal made a covenant with Abraham.
I give this land to your descendants, from the Nile to the Euphrates, the territory of the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonians, Hittites, Pharesians, Rephaim, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites.
Abraham's wife Sarai had no children yet, but she had an Egyptian slave girl called Hagar. Sarai said to Abraham,
The Eternal has not given me children, so lie down with my slave girl. Maybe I'll start a family with her.
Abraham agreed. So Sarai gave Hagar to Abraham. When Abraham had been living in Canaan for 10 years, he lay with Hagar, and she became pregnant. When she found out she was pregnant, Hagar despised Sarai. Sarai complained to Abraham,
I'm being humiliated because of you. I gave my slave to you, and when she found out she was pregnant, she despised me. Let the Eternal decide between us.
Abraham replied,
Your slave is your business, decide what to do.
Sarai began to mistreat Hagar, who ran away, but an angel of the Eternal found Hagar by a spring in the desert on the way to Shur. He said,
Hagar, slave of Sarai. What are you doing here?"
She answered,
I am fleeing from Sarai, my mistress.
"The angel of the Eternal said,
"Go back to your mistress, even if she mistreats you. I will give you a large family, so many descendants that you won't be able to count them. You are pregnant with a boy. Name him Ishmael. The Eternal has heard your suffering. He will be like a wild horse, a warrior, always in conflict with everyone."
Hagar heeded the Eternal's guidance, praying to the God who saw her.
You are the God who sees me. Yes, he saw me and I saw him too.
That's why the spring in the desert was called "The Living God Sees Me." This spring still exists between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore a son to Abraham, who called him Ishmael. Abraham was 86 when Ishmael was born. When Abraham was 99, the Eternal appeared to him and said,
I am the mighty God. Live with integrity before me and strive to remain so. Let's make a covenant and I'll give you a large family.
Shaken, Abraham fell to the ground on his face, and God declared,
My covenant with you will be this. You will be the father of many nations. Your name will no longer be Abram, but Abraham, for I will make you the father of many nations. From you will come nations and kings. I am establishing my covenant between me and you, and with your descendants, an ongoing covenant. Because of it, I pledge to be your God and the God of your descendants. I am giving you and your descendants this land, where you are now encamped, the whole land of Canaan. It will belong to your family forever, and I will be their God. And now this is your part. Honor my covenant, you and your descendants, generation after generation. All men are to be circumcised by removing the skin that covers the head of the penis. This will be the sign of the covenant between us. Every boy shall be circumcised on the 8th day, generation after generation. Slaves born at home and bought from outside must also be circumcised. Thus my covenant will be engraved on their bodies, a definitive sign. Anyone who is not circumcised will be cut off from his people, for he has violated my covenant.
God continued,
As for Sarai your wife, no longer call her Sarai but Sarah. I will bless her and give her a son. From her will come nations and kings.
Abraham laughed, thinking,
100-year-old man having a son. And Sarah at 90.
He said to God,
May Ishmael live well before you.
But God replied,
No, your wife Sarah will have a son. Call him Isaac. I will make an everlasting covenant with him and his descendants. As for Ishmael, I have heard your prayer. I will also bless him, and he will have many children. 12 princes will come out of him, and I will make a great nation. But my covenant will be with Isaac, whom Sarah will give birth to next year.
God then withdrew. Abraham circumcised his son Ishmael, all the men in his household, both born there and bought that same day, as God had commanded. Abraham was 99 and Ishmael was 13 when they were circumcised, as were all his employees. The Eternal appeared to Abraham by the oaks of Mamre. Abraham was sitting at the entrance to his tent at the hottest time of the day. He saw 3 men standing and ran to meet them, bowing down.
Lord, if it pleases you, stay a while with your servant. I will provide water to wash his feet, food, and a place to rest.
They replied,
Good, do that.
Abraham ran into the tent and said to Sarah,
Quick, take 3 cups of our best flour and make loaves.
He chose a fat calf and gave it to a servant to prepare. He brought curds, milk, and the roast calf, set the meal before the men, and stood under the tree while they ate. They asked,
Where is Sarah, your wife?
He answered,
In the tent.
One of them said,
I will return next year, and your wife Sarah will have a son.
Sarah, listening from inside the tent, laughed to herself.
An old woman like me should become pregnant, and with my old husband?
But the Eternal told Abraham,
Why did Sarah laugh? Did she say she can't have a baby? Is there anything too difficult for the Eternal? I'll come back next year, and Sarah will have a son.
Sarah, afraid, lied.
I didn't laugh.
But he said,
Yes, you laughed.
The men got up to leave for Sodom, and Abraham accompanied them. The Eternal said,
Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? He will become a great and strong nation, and all the nations of the world will be blessed through him. I have chosen him so that he may teach his children and family to walk in the ways of the Eternal, being good, generous, and just, so that the Eternal may fulfill what he has promised him.
The Eternal continued,
The cries of the victims in Sodom and Gomorrah are deafening. The sin of these cities is enormous. I will go down to see if what they do is as bad as it seems, and then I will know.
The men went on to Sodom, but Abraham stood in the way of the Eternal, questioning,
Are you serious? Are you going to eliminate the good along with the bad? If there are 50 righteous people in the city, will you destroy them all? Won't you spare the city for those 50 righteous people? Won't the judge of all the earth act justly?
The Eternal answered,
If I find 50 righteous people in Sodom, I will spare the city for their sake.
Abraham said,
I am only dust and ashes, but if 5 are missing from the 50, will you destroy the city because of those 5?
He answered,
I won't destroy it if there are 45 righteous people.
Abraham insisted,
What if there are 40?
I won't destroy the city because of the 40.
Abraham continued,
Lord, don't be angry. But if there are 30?
If I find 30, I won't destroy the city.
Abraham persisted,
I know I'm pushing it, but what if there are 20?
I won't destroy it because of the 20.
Abraham asked,
Sir, this is the last time. What if there are 10?
I won't destroy the city because of the 10.
The Eternal ended the conversation and left. Abraham went home. The 2 angels arrived in Sodom in the evening. Lot was at the entrance to the city, and when he saw them, he stood up to welcome them, bowing down.
Friends, come to my house and spend the night. You can wash up and go on your way rested in the morning.
They said,
No, we'll sleep in the street.
but Lot insisted. They agreed and went to his house. Lot prepared a hot meal and they ate. Before they could retire, men from all over the city, young and old, surrounded the house, shouting at Lot.
Where are the men who are staying the night? Bring them out. We want to have some fun with them.
Lot went out, standing in front of the door, begging.
Please, brothers, don't be mean. I have 2 virgin daughters. I'll bring them out and you can enjoy them. But don't touch those men. They're my guests.
They replied,
Get out of the way. You're a foreigner and you want to boss us around? We'll treat you worse than them.
and they advanced on Lot, trying to break down the door. But the 2 men pulled Lot inside and locked the door, blinding the men who were trying to get in, who were left groping around in the dark. The 2 men said to Lot,
Is there anyone else here? Son, daughter, anyone in town? Get them out of here now. Let's destroy this place. The cry of the victims reached the Eternal, and we were sent to sweep this place from the earth.
Lot went out and warned his daughter's fiancés.
Get out of here! The Eternal will destroy the city.
But they didn't take it seriously. At dawn, the angels hurried Lot away.
Hurry! Take your wife and daughters and get out of here before it's too late, before you're punished with the city.
Lot delayed, so the men grabbed Lot, his wife and daughters, and pulled them out of the city. The Eternal was merciful to them. Outside the city, the angels said to Lot,
Run for your lives. Don't look back. Don't stop in the plain. Run for the hills so you won't be destroyed.
Lot complained.
Sirs, you can't be serious. I know you've been good to me, but I can't run for the hills. Terrible things could happen. I could die. Look, that town is small and close by. Let me escape there and save my life. It's just an open area by the side of the road.
All right, Lot, go that way. I won't destroy the town you showed me, but don't delay. Run there. I won't do anything before you get there.
That's why the city was called Zor, which means small town. When Lot arrived in Zor, the sun was already high in the sky. Then the Eternal rained down fire and brimstone on Sodom and Gomorrah. a river of lava came down from heaven, sent by the Eternal, and destroyed the cities and the whole plain, killing all their inhabitants and everything that grew on the land. However, Lot's wife looked back and became a pillar of salt. Abraham got up very early the next morning and went to the place where he had stood before the Eternal. He looked at Sodom and Gomorrah, at the whole plain, and saw a thick smoke rising from the earth, like smoke from a furnace. Before destroying the cities of the plain, God remembered Abraham and removed Lot from the city where he lived. Then God destroyed those cities of the plain. Lot left Zoar and went to live in the mountains with his 2 daughters, because he was afraid to stay in Zoar. He lived in a cave with them. Once, the older daughter said to the younger,
"Our father is getting old, and there is no man in this region who can marry us. Let's make our father drink wine and lie with him. That way, we'll have children and preserve our lineage."
That night, they made their father drink wine, and the eldest daughter lay with him. He was so drunk that he didn't notice what she had done. The next day, the eldest daughter said to the youngest,
"Last night, I went to bed with our father. Let's make him drink wine again tonight, and you'll lie with him. That way, we'll have children and preserve our lineage."
That night, they made their father drink wine again, and the youngest daughter lay with him. Again, he was so drunk that he didn't notice what she had done. So Lot's 2 daughters became pregnant by their own father. The elder gave birth to a son and named him Moab, the ancestor of today's Moabites. The younger also gave birth to a son and called him Ben-Ami, the ancestor of today's Ammonites. Abraham set out from there towards the Negev and settled between Kadesh and Shur. While living in Gerar, Abraham said of Sarah,
"She is my sister."
So Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah. But that night, God appeared to Abimelech in a dream and said,
You will die because of the woman you have taken, for she is married.
But Abimelech had not yet touched Sarah, so he answered,
"Lord, would you still destroy an innocent people? Abraham told me that she is his sister, and she herself said that he is her brother. I did this with a pure heart and clean hands."
Then God answered in his dream,
Yes, I know that you did it with a pure heart, and that's why I didn't allow you to sin against me. That's why I didn't let you touch her. Now return the woman to her husband, for he is a prophet, and he will intercede for you, and you will live. But if you don't give her back, know that you and all your people will die.
The next morning, Abimelech got up early, called all his servants together, and told them everything that had happened. Everyone was terrified. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said to him,
"What have you done to us? In what have I sinned against you, that you should bring this great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should not be done."
And Abimelech continued,
"What were you thinking when you did that?"
Abraham replied,
"I thought, surely there is no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. And what's more, she's actually my sister, daughter of the same father, though not of the same mother. And when God made me wander from my father's house, I said to her, 'Please show your loyalty to me wherever we go.'"
So Abimelech gave Sarah back to Abraham, and gave him sheep and oxen, male and female servants, and gave Sarah back to him as his wife. And Abimelech said,
"My land is at your disposal, dwell where it pleases you."
And to Sarah said,
"I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver, that it may serve you as a veil before all who are with you. With it you will be corrected."
And after that, Abraham prayed to God, and he healed Abimelech, and his wife, and his handmaids, and they bore again. For the Eternal had sterilized all the women of Abimelech's house because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. The Eternal visited Sarah, just as he said he would, and fulfilled what he had said. Sarah became pregnant and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at God's appointed time. Abraham named the son that Sarah bore Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac every 8 days, as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born. Sarah said,
"God has given me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me."
And she continued,
"Who would have thought that Abraham would give Sarah suckling milk? since she bore a son to an old man.
The baby grew up and was weaned, and Abraham threw a big party on the day Isaac was weaned. One day, Sarah saw that the son of the Egyptian woman Hagar was mocking Isaac. She complained to Abraham,
"Get rid of that slave girl and her son. No son of a slave girl will inherit with my son Isaac."
Abraham was very distressed, because Ishmael was his son, but God said to Abraham,
Don't be so upset about the boy and the slave girl. Do as Sarah says. Your offspring will come through Isaac. As for the son of the slave girl, I will make him into a great nation, for he is also your son.
Abraham got up early, set aside some food and water, gave it to Hagar, and sent her away with her son. She wandered into the desert of Beersheba. When the water ran out, she put the boy under a bush and sat down some distance away, saying,
I can't bear to see my son die.
She burst into tears, but God heard the boy crying. The angel of God called to Hagar from heaven.
Hagar, what has happened? Don't be afraid, God heard the boy. Get up, take your son and embrace him. I will make of him a great nation.
God opened Hagar's eyes, and she saw well. She filled her canteen and gave the boy water. As the boy grew up, God stayed with him. He lived in the desert and became a skilled archer. The desert where he lived was barren, and his mother got him a wife from Egypt. Around the same time, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his troops, said to Abraham,
God is on your side. Promise me that you won't act dishonestly towards me or my family. Treat us with the same kindness I have shown you.
Abraham replied,
I promise.
Abraham also questioned Abimelech about a well that his servants had taken by force. Abimelech said,
I don't know who did it, and you've never told me. It's the first time I've heard that.
So the two made a deal. Abraham gave Abimelech sheep and separated 7 of them. Abimelech asked,
What do these 7 sheep mean?
Abraham replied,
By accepting these 7 sheep, you confirm that I dug this well and that it is mine.
The place came to be called Beersheba, the well of the oath, because they made an agreement there. Abimelech and Phicol returned to Philistine territory. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba and worshipped the Eternal there. Abraham lived in Philistine territory for a long time. After these things, God decided to test Abraham. He called him,
Abraham.
Abraham answered,
No, I'm listening.
Take Isaac, your beloved son, and go to the land of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will indicate.
The next day, Abraham got up early, saddled his donkey, took 2 servants and his son Isaac. He chopped wood for the burnt offering and set off for the place God had indicated. After 3 days, he saw the place. Abraham said to the servants,
Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go there to worship and then come back.
Abraham gave Isaac the wood, took the fire stone and the knife, and they went together. Isaac said to Abraham,
Father,
Yes, my son.
we have the fire stone and the wood, but where's the lamb for the burnt offering?
Abraham replied,
God will provide the lamb, my son.
They arrived at the place indicated by God. Abraham built an altar, laid out the wood, tied Isaac up and laid him on the wood. He took the knife to kill his son, but an angel of the Eternal called from heaven,
Abraham, Abraham.
I hear you.
Don't touch the boy. Now I know that you fear God, for you have not denied your beloved son.
Abraham saw a ram caught by its horns in a bush. He took the animal and sacrificed it in place of his son. Abraham called that place Yahweh-Jireh, God will provide. Hence the expression, on the mountain of the Eternal he will provide. The angel of the Eternal spoke to Abraham again from heaven.
I promise, and this word is from the Eternal, that I will bless you for not refusing to give up your beloved son. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. They will defeat their enemies. All the nations of the earth will be blessed through your descendants because you have obeyed me.
Abraham returned to the young servants. They gathered their things and returned to Beersheba, where Abraham settled. Later, Abraham received news.
your brother Nahor is already a father. Milcah has borne him sons, Uz, the eldest, Buz, Kemuel, Kesht, Hazo, Pildas, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel was Rebekah's father. Milcah bore these 8 sons to Nahor, Abraham's brother. Reumah, Nahor's concubine, had 4 sons, Tebah, Gahon, Tahash, and Makkah.
Sarah lived 127 years and died in Kirjatharba, now Hebron, in Canaan. Abraham wept and mourned. When the mourning was over, Abraham proposed to the Hittites.
I am a foreigner among you. Sell me a burial place to bury my dead.
The Hittites replied,
You are a prince of God. Bury your wife in the best of our graves. No one will refuse.
Abraham bowed in reverence and said,
If you want to help, intercede with Ephron, son of Zor. Ask him to sell me the cave of Machpelah on the border of his land, at a fair price, and you will be witnesses.
Ephron, a member of the Hittite community, replied,
I'll give you the field and the cave. I won't charge you anything, my people will be witnesses. Bury your wife.
Abraham bowed in respect and replied,
Please allow me to pay the price of the land. Take my money so that I can bury my wife in peace.
Ephron said,
Since you insist, I accept. What do 400 pieces of silver mean between us? Go and bury her.
Abraham paid 400 pieces of silver, as agreed. So Ephron's field in Machpelah became Abraham's property, along with the cave and all the trees within its boundaries. The council of the Hittite city witnessed this transaction. Abraham buried Sarah in the cave in the field of Machpelah, near Mamre, now Hebron, in Canaan. The property was transferred from the Hittites to Abraham as a burial place. Abraham was already old, and the Eternal had blessed him in every way. He commanded the oldest servant in the house, who took care of everything.
Put your hand under my thigh and swear by the Eternal, God of heaven and earth, that you will not seek a wife for my son among the Canaanite women, but will go to my homeland and get a wife for Isaac.
The servant asked,
What if the girl doesn't want to come with me? Shall I take your son back?
Abraham replied,
No, don't ever take my son back. The Eternal, who took me from my father's house and promised me this land for my descendants, will send an angel ahead of you so that you can find a wife for my son. If the girl doesn't want to come, you will be released from your oath, but never take my son back.
The servant put his hand under Abraham's thigh and swore. He loaded 10 camels with gifts and traveled to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. Outside the city, he made the camels kneel down by a well at dusk, the time when women used to fetch water. He prayed,
O Eternal One, God of my Lord Abraham, make everything work out this day. Do what is good for my Lord Abraham.
I'll stay here by the fountain while the girls from the city come to fetch water. Let the girl to whom I say, Put down your pitcher and give me some water, and who replies, Drink, and I'll also give water to your camels, be the one chosen for your servant Isaac. Then I will know that you are acting kindly on my master's behalf.
No sooner had he finished praying than Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, whose mother was Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, appeared. She approached with a jug of water over her shoulder. The girl was extremely beautiful, a virgin and pure. Rebekah went down to the spring, filled the jug, and returned. The servant ran up to her and said,
Please, could I have some of the water from your jug?
She replied,
Of course, you can drink it.
And she held the jug out for him to drink. After he had quenched his thirst, she said,
I'll give the camels water too until they're satisfied.
She said this and quickly emptied the jug into the trough, ran back to the well to refill it, repeating the operation until all the camels had drunk. The man watched in silence. Was that the Eternal's answer? Had he succeeded in his mission? As soon as the camels had finished drinking, the man gave her a gold nose ring weighing just over 7 grams and 2 bracelets weighing over 100 grams. After handing over the jewelry, he asked,
Tell me about your family. Whose daughter are you? Is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?
She replied,
I'm the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah and Nahor. Yes, there is room in our house for you to stay. We also have plenty of straw and food for the camels."
At the same moment, the man bowed down in worship of the Eternal and prayed,
"Blessed be the Eternal, God of my Lord Abraham. You have been generous and faithful to my master. You have withheld no blessing, and you have brought me to the door of my master's brother."
The girl ran to tell her mother's family what had happened. Rebekah had a brother called Laban. He came running to the spring where the man was. Laban saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister and heard what she had said. The man said thus, thus and thus. So he went to find the man, who was still by the spring with the camels. Laban greeted him.
"Come, blessed of the Eternal. Why are you still here? I have prepared our house for you and a place for the camels."
The man was welcomed into the house. After relieving the camels of their load, they gave the animals fodder and food. They also brought water to wash the feet of the man and his companions. After that, Laban brought food, but the man said,
"I'm not going to eat before I tell my story."
Laban replied,
"Then tell us."
The man explained,
"I am Abraham's servant. The Eternal has blessed my master, who is an excellent person, by giving him sheep, cattle, silver, gold, servants, camels, and donkeys. To crown it all, Sarah, my Lord's wife, gave him a son in his old age. He passed everything on to his son and made me promise, 'Don't look for a wife for my son among the Canaanite women. Go to my father's house, find my family, and get a wife for my son.' I asked, 'What if the girl doesn't want to go with me?' He replied, 'The Eternal, before whom I walk faithfully, will send his angel with you and make everything work out. You will find a wife for my son, a girl from my family, from my father's house. If my family doesn't want to give her up, you'll be free of the oath.' Today, when I arrived at the well, I prayed, 'Eternal, God of my Lord Abraham, make everything work out in this mission.' I was standing by the well when a girl came to fetch some water. I asked, 'Please give me some water from your jug.' She replied, 'Drink, and I'll give the camels water too.' So I drank, and she gave water to the camels. I asked her whose daughter she was, and she said, 'I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Nahor and Milcah. I'll stay here by the fountain while the girls from the city come to fetch water. Let the girl to whom I say, "Put down your pitcher and give me some water," and who replies, "Drink, and I'll also give water to your camels," be the one chosen for your servant Isaac. Then I will know that you are acting kindly on my master's behalf."
Laban and Bethuel replied,
"All this comes from the Eternal. It's not for us to say anything about it, yes or no. Rebekah is at your disposal. You can take her to be the wife of your master's son, as the Eternal has made clear."
When Abraham's servant heard their decision, he bowed in worship to the Eternal. He then brought gifts of gold, silver, and clothing, and gave them all to Rebekah. He also gave expensive gifts to Rebekah's brother and mother. Then he and the men who accompanied him dined and spent the night. Early in the morning, they were up and he said,
"I must go back to my master."
But Rebekah's brother and mother asked,
"Let the girl stay a little longer, say about 10 days. After that, you can go."
But the man was determined.
"No, please. Don't make me wait any longer. The Eternal has made everything work out so well, I need to go back to my master."
They replied,
"Well, you'd better call the girl and ask her."
So they called Rebekah and asked,
"Do you want to accompany this man?"
She answered,
"Yes, I'm ready to go."
So they agreed that Rebekah, their sister, and her companion should go with Abraham's servant and his entourage. They blessed Rebekah, saying,
"Our sister, may you live in plenty, and may your children be victorious."
Rebekah and her maids mounted the camels and accompanied the man. The servant went home with Rebekah. Isaac lived in the Negev. He had just returned from a visit to Bir-Leroy. In the afternoon, he went out into the countryside. While he was meditating, he looked out and saw the camels approaching. When Rebekah saw Isaac, she got off the camel and asked the servant,
"Who is that man coming towards us?"
"That's my master," was the reply.
Then she took her veil and covered herself. After the servant had given Isaac the full report of the journey, Isaac took Rebekah to his mother Sarah's tent. He married Rebekah, and she became his wife. Isaac loved her very much. This is how Isaac consoled himself after his mother's death. Abraham married again. His second wife was called Keturah. From her were born Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Jishbak, and Swet. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. Dedan's descendants were the Asherites, the Latusites, and the Lumites. Midian was the father of Ephah, Epher, Enoch, Abida, and Eldah. All these were descendants of Keturah, but Abraham gave everything he had to Isaac. During his lifetime, he gave the children he had to his concubines, sending them to the land of the east so that they would be far away from his son Isaac. Abraham lived 175 years and breathed his last. He died happy, after a long life. He was buried with his wife Sarah. His sons, Isaac and Ishmael, buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite, near Mamre, the same field that Abraham had bought from the Hittites. He was buried next to his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac. He lived in Beer-le-Roy. These are the descendants of Ishmael, the son of Abraham and the Egyptian Hagar, Sarah's slave, who gave birth to Abraham. These are the names of Ishmael's sons in order of birth: Nebaioth, Kedar, Abdeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jether, Nabhiz, and Kedemah. These are all sons of Ishmael. The settlements and places where they camped were named after them. There were 12 princes with their 12 tribes. Ishmael lived 137 years and breathed his last. He was buried with his family. His sons settled from Havilah, near Egypt, moving eastwards to Shur, in the direction of Syria. The Ishmaelites didn't get on well with any of their relatives. This is the offspring of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham was Isaac's father. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Padan Aram. She was the sister of Laban, the Aramean. Isaac prayed incessantly to the Eternal because his wife was barren, and the Eternal heard his pleas. Rebekah became pregnant, but the babies wiggled intensely inside her, so that she exclaimed,
"If this is so, why do I go on living?"
She sought the Eternal to understand what was happening, and the Eternal answered her,
"Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples will separate from your birth. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger."
The time came for her to give birth, and there were twins inside her. The first to come out was a red-haired boy, covered in hair. They named him Esau. Then his brother came out, his hand holding Esau's heel. They named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when they were born. The boys grew up. Esau became a skilled hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob was quiet, preferring to stay among the tents. Isaac loved Esau for his love of hunting, but Rebekah loved Jacob. One day, Jacob was preparing a red stew when Esau returned from the field exhausted and hungry. He asked Jacob,
"Please let me have some of that red stew. I'm exhausted with hunger."
Jacob replied,
"Sell me your birthright first."
Esau retorted,
"I'm almost starving. What good is primogeniture to me?"
Jacob insisted,
"Swear first."
Esau swore and gave up his birthright to Jacob. Jacob then gave Esau bread and lentil stew. Esau ate, drank, and left, despising his birthright. Abram, later named Abraham, is a central figure in the Bible, known for his unwavering faith in God. Born in Ur of the Chaldeans, Abram was called by God to leave his homeland and journey to a new land that God would show him. Despite not knowing his destination, Abram obeyed, demonstrating profound trust in God's promise to make him a great nation. Throughout his life, Abram's faith was tested, most notably when God commanded him to sacrifice Isaac. Abram's willingness to obey, even in this extreme test, further exemplified his deep faith. However, God intervened, providing a ram for the sacrifice instead. Abram's legacy as a man of faith is foundational in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. where he is revered as a patriarch and a model of trust in God.
I hope you enjoyed exploring Abraham's life with us. Don't forget to leave your comments below. Share this video with friends and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching and see you next time.